up, everyone? Coach David here.
Coach Muhammad, Professor Muhammad.
And Coach Jimmy.
So I want to introduce, we have a special guest, obviously Coach Jimmy. He's been running our adult fundamental curriculums for how long?
I think something like 8 or 9 months now.
Eight or 9 months. He's been obviously helping coach our kids program for
going on 2 years.
2 years. Okay, so the Coach Jimmy has got a lot of martial arts experience, a lot of jiu-jitsu experience. How long in general have you been training? Just pick a martial art. You've trained several.
So pick a martial art.
Well, just like
all
throw them all in a bag. At the
Who
time
are
together.
you?
At the
And
time.
what do you like? Where did you come from?
At
Like,
the time together.
what do you know about martial arts?
I started martial arts when I was 5 years old. I did Taekwondo competitively up until the time I was 12. Then I started doing different classic sports in school. Started doing football, wrestling, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of wanted to fit in a little bit more.
Sure.
Rather than just the martial arts constantly. So I got into football, wrestling mainly. I did track in high school. And then after high school, I got back into martial arts.
Okay. So that's a minute. All right. So what is, before we get into our questions, how has jiu-jitsu, and as a kid, what is that like? Wherever there are times as martial arts that you wanted to quit?
All the time. There was a lot of times where I didn't want to show up to class. You're a kid, your favorite show is on, or you're outside or hanging out with your friends. It's time to go to class. You got to leave. You're never really that happy about that. But every time that I was unhappy about going there, once I got there, I was never unhappy that I got there.
So what did your parents do? How'd they get you there? They just throw you over their shoulder and throw you in the car and pretty much boot you out the door?
From the time that I was really young, I always did a sport every season. So there wasn't a time that I wasn't doing a sport. So it was expected when it was time for practice, you went.
Okay. But if you didn't want to go, did you try talking them out of it? Did you act sick? Did you throw a hissy fit? Did your tummy hurt? What? I'm sure you must have developed some tools to get out of it.
I've tried all those things, but my parents would just tell me I still had to go.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that child abuse?
No, I wouldn't say so. I say it's more commitment.
There are legit, you're laughing. There are legitimate millennial parents right now who are calling that child abuse.
Yeah.
I started, you can't make your kid do what they don't want to do. On the contrary, your job as a parent is making your kid do shit they don't want to do.
Yeah.
Eat your veggies. Go to bed. Don't talk back.
So, I've studied some striking many years ago. When you did Taekwondo years ago, was it full contact or was it was it any different than what we see today?
When we did the actual sparring, it was all point. It wasn't full contact. It was point sparring at that point. Especially it was a younger class. So the oldest person there was 12. We did harder contact, I believe, than most other schools. But when it came to tournament time, all the tournaments were point sparring. There was no full contact tournaments around at that time for Taekwondo that I knew of.
So at what point did you say, man, I'm going to take this to another level and I'm going to go into the cage and do MMA?
Me and my dad, when I grew up, we always watched the tough man competitions and the early UFCs and everything. And, that kind of sparked my interest. But the first time when I saw the Ultimate Fighter, when it happened, that Forrest Griffin and Stephen Bonner fight, I literally looked at people the next day at school and told them I was going to do mixed martial arts.
I remember that. That was a battle. That was the first Ultimate Fighter, and they ended up giving both of them a contract, not just Forrest Griffin, because Forrest won, and then Stephen Bonner. It was just such a long war that I think they gave both guys a fighting contract.
Oh yeah, it was definitely one of the ones where I was actually calling friends and being like, "Hey, you should turn on this channel. This fight is insane."
Yeah, I remember that. That was awesome. So, so you did MMA. Was it? How did you like it? Was it something that you enjoyed, and how did it lead up to where you are today?
I enjoyed MMA. I enjoyed the training, the being part of a team and everything. Some other aspects of it I really didn't enjoy. There's always politics and everything. So wasn't a big fan of that part, but I really liked the training. I really liked the camaraderie. I liked helping people, just learning too. And it kind of led me into, like, when I did MMA, I was always trying to help other people, learning a lot. So kind of as I got older, wanting to pass on my, the knowledge that I've collected. So led me into coaching here.
So where did jiu-jitsu start? Were you doing jiu-jitsu and MMA at the same time? Did that start at the same time, or?
We didn't really do jiu-jitsu per se. We did grappling maybe once or twice a week. We were a Muay Thai gym, so we mainly just did striking. 1 or 2 days a week, we would do grappling, and it was always from the knees because we only had the puzzle piece mats. So we weren't
those
able
are hard.
Yeah,
those were hard.
we weren't able to do real takedowns on them. So we
I
always started
can't
from the knees.
fathom training for a cage fight without knowing jiu-jitsu. I can't fathom that.
Yeah. I honestly, I won the fights that I won that I finished were all by submission too.
So that's some shitty jiu-jitsu. Well, if you're training one day and it's not even jiu-jitsu and you're training like 1 day a week from the knees, like that's
Not
what
the
year? What
greatest,
year
no.
was that?
This was 2009, 2010, 2011.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that was Wow. Yeah, see, I can't I actually posted on the BJJ Fanatics site a while back. I was like, yo, I'm a black belt thinking about a cage fight. What do I need to know? And they're like, you don't need to know anything. Just go in there. And I was like, And then some guys who had their head on straight were like, it's not like the old days where you could go in and just literally not box a day in your life and submit some fools. So that's great. I didn't realize you trained that. I didn't realize that was like your extent of jiu-jitsu for when you cage fought.
Yeah, no, the most that I got a lot of my jiu-jitsu from watching BJ Penn. Literally, that like a lot of my back system and everything early on was just watching BJ Penn and be like, so he uses his legs like this. Trying to imitate that.
So what we're talking about today specifically is goal setting, personal goals, career goals, whatever, and how jiu-jitsu helps you achieve those. So how does jiu-jitsu help you achieve? Because you've got you've gone from training martial arts early on as a child to now well into an adulthood. So how does jiu-jitsu help you achieve your goals off the mat? Like, what is the difference between that and say football or one of the traditional sports that you played?
It's on you because it's more of it's a team sport, but it's an individual sport too. When the actual times come to compete, comes to actually, perform, it's all on you. Your team can be there with you, but they're not the one on the mat with you. Just like I feel like it is in, everyday life. And a lot of it, getting better at jiu-jitsu is the same way you get better at anything else in life. So you have to work hard, you have to keep trying, you have to fail, and then get back up and try again.
So what are some of the goals that just in short that jiu-jitsu has helped you reach, either personally or we'll call it corporately, or just offside of that? We're not talking tournament goals or physical goals or whatever. What are some personal goals that jiu-jitsu has helped you achieve?
Well, jiu-jitsu helped me switch careers completely. For 9 years, I worked at Whole Foods. I was a cook. I did logistics and shipping and receiving. I was a dishwasher there. I worked at the bakery. So I tried a lot of different hats at Whole Foods. And I just realized that I was not happy at all doing that line of work. And when I started doing jiu-jitsu, I had been working there for about 7 years. So about 2 years into jiu-jitsu, I started coaching. I started doing some other things on the side. And I realized, hey, maybe if I, pick up some other stuff and, hustle, I can get rid of the job that I don't like and start pursuing something that I actually want to do for the rest of my life.
Well, how would you have rated your mental health like at that career, at that job? Scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the highest.
I would say sliding scale between a 3 and a 6. Never really higher than a 6.
Oh wow,
when I was there. Yeah,
it's pretty low.
Yeah, pretty low.
For how long?
The 9 years that I was there.
I would have never.
So you were.
I would have never.
Yeah, trust me. Looking back, bad choices. But
yeah.
So, Coach, you essentially were unhappy, and you were going to work for 9 years straight, and you were like a 3 to a 6 every day. You were waking up and going to your job.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I was there. That's such a miserable feeling, waking up every single day knowing you're going to do something that actually makes you feel shitty.
Yeah. I feel like once you get like deep into it too, you almost feel like there's no way out.
Yeah, you feel trapped.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you feel trapped.
Yeah.
I was just talking to my daughter last night on the way home from class, and I'm like, you know what? I just can't wait till I get out there and compete again. And she's like, why? You don't have to. You could just coach or whatever. And I'm like, she plays soccer, and that's her sport. And I said, in a team sport, the game's going on, and if one person doesn't fill their spot like they're supposed to, it falls back on the other 7. And then if another one, it falls back on the other 6, and then another 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. It ultimately always falls back on somebody. And individual sports like martial arts and jiu-jitsu, you train as a team, but it's always going to fall back on you. You know that the success or failure or the output that you could get always falls back on you, and you prepare inside the training. So really, it's a team sport, but there's so many individual. You're so accountable individually that whether you progress or not all depends on how hard you work. In a team sport, one little weak link changes the whole game.
Yeah, 100%.
I'm trying to understand, like, because I've stayed way too long in organizations and places than I should have.
Mm-hmm.
So how did jiu-jitsu help you? Like, what was you said it helped you change careers and kind of focus on really something that you enjoy doing.
Yeah.
What part of jiu-jitsu though? Was it like the fearlessness that you're like, well, whatever, like I'm just gonna take this leap? Because I think like if we boil it down, when people feel like they can't leave a job, your mind goes from, if I quit this job, I will be homeless, living under a bridge, on a steady diet of government cheese. Like that's the conclusion, right? Like I'll be homeless, I'll be a beggar.
Yeah.
Side note, they make good money. Like the guys at the cardboard signs, like are probably making 40 grand a year plus. So what was the I guess what part of jiu-jitsu helped you make that call?
I would say the improvement of mental health, just feeling better every day, and seeing that there was other ways for me to, make ends meet, to make money, and there's ways for me to do that and actually be happy. So, yeah.
Okay. Were you scared at all to take the leap?
Oh, 100%. Terrified.
Why? So why would you do that? Wouldn't that just make your mental health even worse?
I felt like with what I was doing and being on the mat, that no matter what, as long as I had jiu-jitsu to come back to and, kind of reset. I feel like that's what jiu-jitsu does for me, is like, overall I can come here and I can kind of reset, and all the problems that I was having, I can get a better view on that.
Absolutely. And Coach, I'd like to hear your thoughts on this too, because a lot of times we get a lot of noise, especially in the day of media, and there's people who make 6 figures, find it like they're paid proportionally to how well they can distract you. And so we get a lot of noise, we get a lot of messages, and you don't have time to really think about anything else of that. And so jiu-jitsu is that hard reset, and saying so that when you leave here, you're like, you kind of prioritize too. Like you have to prioritize threats. You have to prioritize your threats / risk. You have to prioritize your goals, what you're going to attack first, one at a time. You can't worry about a submission until you get in a position to do so. You can't worry about taking that leap of a new job until you kind of set something else prior, usually.
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts on that, Coach? Like in terms of like silencing the noise to prioritize tasks, and not just manage emotionally or kind of whatever's urgent.
Yeah. So with all these motivational channels and videos online, it's a pretty common theme. You have to know what you want. You have to know your outcome. You have to be willing to sacrifice. You have to be willing to work hard, work later, do more than what you're asked for. you know, the like the roadmap and the secret to success is not a secret. You can get them online, but I think that I think sometimes, like achieving those goals, pursuing a career, I think sometimes we overcomplicate them. And I think that like jiu-jitsu really makes things easy. At the end of the day, when you make a career change or something like that, you gotta have balls. Male or female, you have to have guts and say, this is what I want, and I am gonna have to take a little bit of a leap. And I think jiu-jitsu gives you the courage, because the confidence that we talk about with jiu-jitsu translates to every single area of your life. And if you can survive a session of jiu-jitsu where you're forced to focus, like get dialed in 100%, then it makes it so much easier to refocus outside of the mat. And we're only talking about an hour a day. So I think that's how jiu-jitsu really translates, is it teaches you practice focusing in the gym. You practice taking chances, and it becomes easy because you just have to, you just got to jump in and have a leap of faith. And I think jiu-jitsu gives you that faith and the belief that you can.
Mm. Absolutely. What is the, I want to bring up the story real quick. We were at the trade on that same note. We were at the trade fair, one at our street fair, and homeboy, you're like, yo, you ever thought about jiu-jitsu? He's like, no, I can't. What did he say? It was this guy. I think it was one of the excuses we talked about last week. And he's like, it was either I work too much or it was money. He's like, money's really tight right now.
Yeah.
And what was dumb is I think it was both. He's like, I'm working 70, 80 hours and money's tight. Shit, bro, you're working 70, 80 hours and money's tight. You're pissing money away somewhere. Like I don't know what to tell you. Show me your bank account. You're blowing money. And you were like, okay, so what if I could get you a 20% raise? After a year, if you train jiu-jitsu and you haven't increased your income by 20%, we'll give you a full refund on your tuition. And he was like, nah, I'm good. So that just completely nullifies all those excuses, right? To be fair, you met him for probably 60 seconds at a trade fair, and he probably thought you were blowing smoke. But enough rapport was quite built there. But he's like, no, I'm not gonna do it. It wasn't even an option. It's that enslavement you're talking about, right? Like, oh, I don't have an option. Like, this is the way it is. This is the way it is. So what's the correlation then? In jiu-jitsu, we train, for those who don't know, we train gi and no gi. Gi is the karate uniform. The fabric robe that's 15 inches thick, and then it's got belts on it. And then no gi is kind of that spandex wrestling gear type. So on the gi, there are belts. There's 5 adult belts. What's the correlation between belt promotions and goal setting?
I'll let you go start first.
What do you think the correlation is between achieving a new belt and achieving your goals?
I don't know if there's much correlation in the achieving, but I feel like you're setting, as you get higher in belts, you start to set higher goals. So I think that comes with the higher belts, is having higher goals on and off the mat, I feel like.
Yeah. Because
you're achieving things by getting the belt, but then after that you have to set goals to get to the next step.
Yeah.
So if you see somebody have success, or you teach somebody how to achieve a goal, right? Or you teach somebody how to problem solve. And I know with your elite husband, the clients that you work with, you're basically rooting and cheering for people to whether it be make more money, whether it be to have a happier marriage, and to have success in their career. So the clients that you work with, you're rooting for them. If you're coaching somebody, like the correlation for me goes like this: if you're coaching somebody, if you see somebody have success and you're genuinely happy for them, and you can teach your brain, whether it be a stranger or somebody you don't even like, that they have success and you're happy for them, you teach your brain that having success is okay. And I think the correlation between jiu-jitsu, when you spend so many hours, so many days, so many months on the mat, you're teaching your brain to have more success, whether it be through belt promotions, because they come. Even at a job, eventually, if you just keep putting in your time, your number is going to get called and you're going to get promoted, or and or you're going to move up. Your technique is going to get better. You're going to have way more benefits. And I think the correlation goes as you start to see hard work gives me success. If I put in my time, then you teach your brain that that formula works anywhere else you go. So, for me, it's simple. Like you just teach your brain, okay, if I can have success here, then it's possible I can do it anywhere else.
Yeah. And with belt promotions, like you can get a 4-year degree and not learn shit.
Yeah.
Like my brother did it. He literally like spent like, God, I don't even know how much he spent. Like he got like, I'm sorry, he might have gotten associates. It's like criminal justice.
Yeah.
And he's like, I didn't learn shit.
Which one, Paul or?
No, my brother-in-law actually. Like,
Okay.
so he's a trooper now. He's like, I didn't learn anything. I'm like, how do you go to a place for 2 years and how is there not an entity like they don't care that someone came out of their organization and quote, I didn't learn shit. Like you're not going to walk out of here with a blue belt, purple belt, whatever belt and say I didn't learn anything. It's not going to happen.
Yeah.
You can walk out of here as a white belt and say I didn't learn anything after quitting after 3 months, and that's going to be like a gross over exaggeration. Like you learned something, but ultimately it does come back on the student of like if you were here and like you weren't paying attention and like you just avoided all the hard matches and you didn't want to put yourself in an uncomfortable spot, like then yeah, I guess it would be possible. You had to work. You had to avoid the stuff necessary. But like you're not going to train jiu-jitsu for 4 years or get a blue belt or a purple belt and not learn anything.
Yeah.
Because no coach in the nation, no jiu-jitsu coach in the nation is just going to promote you based on your attendance by seeing you a lot.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So that's a correlation I see is that and going back to that personal accountability, like every single day you get called out. Yeah. Like, all right, let's see how that's been working. Imagine if every day if you went to work and they're like, all right, let's see your whatever. What'd you do today? Like, you micromanage the shit out of me. Like, I'm not that would bother me, right? Like, I'm like, well, hey, how about I'm very task oriented. Okay, my task when we slap bump is to choke you out or get a submission or something. Like that's my task.
Yeah.
So when you have to actually like be accountable, they do that. I don't know. What's corporate America do that? Like once a week or once a quarter? Like they'll check something 4 times a year. You're held accountable in corporate America. If that. So every single day you come to jiu-jitsu, you're held accountable, and a lot of people don't like that. People don't like that. So how long is too long to achieve your goals? Let's say you set we'll just make something. I don't know. What's an arbitrary goal? You set a goal. I want to. I don't know. My personal favorite. I want to own a home by the time I'm 25. Okay, and for some reason it doesn't work out. It's not in the cards. Okay, how long is too long to set a goal? I'm just picking an arbitrary goal. Like how long is too long? Is there such a thing?
Well, as far as goal setting, I think everybody can agree. I don't believe you can achieve any goal alone. Like if you're committed to reaching a goal, along the way, there's always going to be somebody that helps you out.
Several people.
Yeah.
There's
several always. People. I mean, if you look around at anybody, you can ask anybody who's met any of their goals and say, did you do it alone? You woke up alone, you went out to work alone, you went out to train alone, but there's always going to be people along the way that are going to help you. And so there is no time. I think, eventually when you put in the time, you're going to get help along the way. And how long is too long? As long as it takes you to achieve the goal or quit.
Yeah.
Gordon Ryan, I know we all know who he is, but for anybody not familiar with the all-time greats, he's a living all-time great in grappling, and his goal was to be the best in the world. And I remember one of the guys I was talking to, one of the vendors I was talking to at Kids Pans, he's like, he was coming around when he was a purple belt, and he was saying, I'm going to be the greatest grappler. And they're like, oh man, just, whatever, get out of my face. He was looking for sponsorships. So his coach at the time was like, dude, you got to take notice. Like, this guy's going to be good. Whatever. And he was saying it. So he knew what he wanted many, many years ago. And so, how long is too long? There's no time. And you know what? You never know when things are all going to come together and bam, you're right where you want to be, so you never know. I don't think you can put a time on it. So the people around you are going to recognize you and promote you or give you that opportunity that you've been looking for.
What do you think, Coach?
I'd have to agree, especially if it's a solid goal that you really want to achieve. You're not going to stop until you get that goal.
What?
David, let me tell you that at 13 years old, when the Karate Kid came out, I knew I wanted to be a martial arts instructor. So initially it was like law school, and I wanted to be a martial arts instructor. And my life took.
You literally want to be Daniel LaRusso.
Yeah.
Oh wait, he's not.
No, Mr. Miyagi.
He's not a lawyer.
No.
He's a car salesman, right?
Mm-hmm.
He became a car salesman.
Yeah.
LaRusso.
No, he owns a car dealership.
Okay. Yeah.
There's a difference.
Okay. All right.
If you own a restaurant, are you a cook or are you a restaurant owner?
I would hope you can cook if you own a restaurant.
Yeah, but you're not a cook. You're a restaurant owner.
Okay.
So you're always taking shots at Daniel.
Daniel wouldn't hold up to 13-year-olds in here right now as a 45, like whatever his life stage is in Cobra Kai.
Yeah, I'd say Emmanuel could take him.
Yeah, like
look, he always finds a way to win. He always finds. You just got to watch the shows. He always finds a way to win. So, anyway, would you?
How long is too long?
Yeah. Well, I really don't like how you attack Daniel LaRusso, my childhood hero. I'm always like this with him.
I don't.
My childhood hero is not a Marvel.
So long as we can like agree. If we're like, as long as we're like, listen, I understand it's a fictional character. I understand there's no way it would ever happen. If that statement happens, like Doctor Strange, yeah, it's probably fictional. This shit's never gonna happen.
Yeah.
If that statement was ever made about Daniel LaRusso, I'd be like, okay, cool, we'll let it go. Like you got your fictional characters. I haven't heard it yet though. I like that. What I am grateful for is that it motivated you enough.
Yeah. That
the movie was well done enough and motivational to get you into martial arts. Otherwise, we would have never met.
Yeah. So how long is too long? Like I knew at 13 years old that's what I wanted to do, and I went through a bunch of career changes, and I almost put it on the back burner for a long time, and eventually 30 years later, 25, 30 years later, it came to true. And even till today, like I still have to question myself. Am I able to jump in and, take some classes, get to law school, get my law degree? Even till today, I still think about it. And I think as long as you have a goal and you keep thinking about it and start to take some action, you'll achieve the goal. My action for owning a martial arts school was I started training. I just started training. And so
I have a question. Did you have any other teammates or classmates like through any of the arts that started and they did open academies before you?
That's a good question. So I've trained at a few teammates
or whatever, like maybe people you knew that they opened before you.
No.
That would be because a lot of times we can do that, right? Like we're like, oh, they're further ahead.
Yeah.
Further ahead.
Yeah.
I think the goal is too long. The only answer I would say is when something is too long is things change.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's okay to have set a goal at 19. If your goal at 19 is the same as when it is when you're 30, that's great. Then keep chasing. But if you're things so change in your life to where that's no longer a goal of yours, don't stay committed to it or don't stay chasing it just because you set it at 19. So you have permission to change it whenever you desire, and you don't know anyone an explanation. Like, you don't know anyone an explanation. Be like, let's say, okay, I go to law school. Okay. Halfway through, I was like, this sucks. I'm out. Like who did that? Kanye? Like Kanye, did he actually graduate? Or did he drop? He was a dropout. He's called the college dropout. He has a whole album called The College Dropout. He could be like, nah, peace. I'm not doing this. I'm out. Okay. Like I'm out. Same thing. I did a semester of college. I was like, I had to take time off work so that I could pay my college tuition, so I could be at college not making money. I was like, this is dumb. This is really, really dumb. So that goal changed. I would also kind of inject this, that it should be enjoyable to work on your goal. Should be enjoyable.
Yeah.
Like if every day my goal woke up like your 8 hours of working at corporate America that you didn't enjoy, something's broken. Either the goal is maybe your goal is actually someone else's goal. Like my dad would have loved for me to go into the automotive industry. Would have loved it. Like to do CNC machining and milling and like that. Don't get me wrong, that shit's cool. It's just not what I want to do for a living. Like I think it's pretty cool. It's fascinating, like the milling and stuff. But I'm not trying to do that. Like he would love to see me kind of do something like that. And it took him 33 years for him to be like, bro, like he's like just I think this past couple months, he's like, dude, I'm really proud of like you entered a realm I have no idea about. Like, and that's in what he was saying in so many words is that's a guts. He's like, I would have, because he wanted me to go into a realm that he knew so he could help me out. He couldn't really help me out much with martial arts. He didn't have a whole lot of experience there. So long as you're enjoying it, shit, bro, I don't care if it takes 50 years. If you're pursuing something and you're enjoying it, you're happier than most of America.
Yeah,
agreed.
That's the truth.
So, so we talked about how jiu-jitsu has helped Coach Jimmy take a leap. So what's the purpose of goal setting then? What's the purpose behind it? Other than face value of let's run through somebody who's never heard of goal setting, or at least never done other than hearing about it. Like what components are there of goal setting?
It's like a little map. Like you want to go from point A to point B. Goal setting is basically putting a map and saying, okay, this is where I want to be, and this is what I want. And goal setting helps you kind of, stay on track to get to where you want to go. It basically keeps you focused on what it is that you really want.
What's your goal setting? What are your how do you goal set, or what components are of your goal setting?
Well, I mean, first I have to decide, the goal that I want. Maybe it's a tournament. Maybe it's the next belt. Maybe, I want to hit a certain move. So the first thing I have to do is figure out the goal. And then I figure out what things I need to do to achieve that goal. And then like Coach Mo said, I have to stay on that path to get that goal. So and then building, and then troubleshooting. Maybe, maybe I went right. I have to go back left, and then maybe I have to go back right again 2 ways, and then go, maybe forward.
So I got a question for you. How long you been a blue belt?
2 years.
Okay. 4-stripe blue belt. You've competed in many, many tournaments.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, when you get to a certain belt level, or you get to a certain spot inside your goal setting, and you're close. You're close, and you feel like I should just be there already, because you could just feel and taste it's close, but you're not, for whatever reason, for your instructors, your boss, or whatever like that, they're not pushing you over the hump to say, okay, we met this goal of yours. For you, it's going to be purple belt, right?
Yeah.
So, so you're close, where you're at, and I know, because I've been where you're at, and I've been where you're at in the martial arts industry, and I've been where you're at professionally many, many times. It's like, all right, already. I've kind of put in my time, and I know that I'm close, and it's frustrating that you don't meet that goal. How do you handle that? What do you do? And just take being 4-stripe blue ready to go to purple, because you could taste it. Like, how are you handling that? And how does, just talk to us about that and where your mindset is, and either the goal setting or being stuck? Like, what's going through your mind, and how do you handle, being stuck?
I feel like
I don't want to say stuck being at this point where you're close, but it's just you would like it to happen, and it's just not happening right now.
I feel like you just have to be patient. I've got to realize that certain things I can't control. There's only things I can only control myself.
Okay.
So the only thing I can control how I react to it, what I do, if I continue to train as hard as I have been. Because I mean, if I stop training or I train less, that's obviously not going to get to my goal. So I have to either train harder, or I have to figure out different ways to train, or different modalities, or different ways in the gym that I can work positions or start in different positions to maybe help me figure some stuff out.
Yeah. So David, this story about 15, 20 years ago. I had a coffee shop in Toledo, and I started training at this martial arts place.
Yeah.
And make a long story short, the guy offered me $10,000 to become a black belt.
He offered you a black belt.
He offered me a black belt.
You pay him $10,000. He'll get you a Taekwondo black belt from Japan or Korea.
Yeah, and so my goal at that time was to take my fighting ability to the next level. And like, just to piggyback off what you're saying, I believe when you're at that place and you get close, you have to trust your instructor. You have to trust your instructor. Like, they're giving you a program for an iPhone or an Android. Like, the program works. So many other people have done it. You got to trust them, and you got to stay the course. I didn't trust my instructor when he offered to give me a black belt for $10,000, and I decided to say, you know what? Achieving my goal of becoming getting more confidence and learning how to fight better, he was not the right one for me, and I decided to leave. So if I did trust him, I would have stayed, and I would have I probably own a striking school by now. So.
But that wouldn't have achieved your goal.
It wouldn't have, and that's why I left.
Like, if your goal is to get a black belt, boom, mission accomplished.
Yeah.
You phoned it in. But if your goal is to get better at fighting, shit, it doesn't matter what color belt. You can wear a rainbow color belt around your waist. Like, you can, you're as good of a fighter as you are.
Yeah, and that's a thing. That's what I said to him. I'm like, okay, you give me a black belt, but when I walk out on the street, am I going to be able to defend myself in a fight? That was my goal. And when you have a goal, and whoever you're surrounding around, whoever your peers are, your teammates, your coaches, your boss, or whatever, if you have to trust them. If you don't, it's best for you to go and achieve that somewhere else. And I decided, I don't trust this man. I don't think he's going to help me achieve my goal. So I decided to leave. And I think that you got to have trust in the people around you, and just stay at work and just put your head down and keep working, because eventually good things happen. Hard work never goes unrewarded, in my opinion.
Yeah. So is it possible to fail or miss your goal and still be content, still be happy? They can't even compute it. They're like, they don't understand. Failure is not an option for this room. Like, they're like, I don't understand the question. Can you rephrase?
Look, I'll answer that in short. Meeting a goal is awesome. You meet a goal, you check the box off, but anybody would tell you it's what you had to do to get to that goal that really makes you, that really starts to shape you as a person.
Yeah.
So it's really the hard work that shapes it. So along the way, you just become a different person. And like you said, sometimes your goal changes. Sometimes your goal changes. If you really work hard and you keep chasing your goals, it's not always about that goal. It might change because who you become as a person changes if you really work honest and are true to yourself. So answer is no, but it's probably because something changed along the way, and you just recalibrated and said, I'm going to change a little bit. That's how I see it.
I feel like maybe, definitely not at the time, maybe years later, after maybe you've achieved another goal, you can maybe appreciate failing at another goal because of, like Coach Mo said, the journey to get there. But definitely at the time or any time near after, I'm not going to feel content or happy after missing a goal. Maybe years down the line, I could look back in the journey to try to get to that goal. I can appreciate that, but not so much missing the goal.
So let me challenge. Let me challenge the thought process here. Content, and maybe I shouldn't have lumped them together, because you can be content. You should be content with kind of who you are, right? I don't believe your identity should ever be connected to your goal, because then unless that goal becomes a reality, now you have an identity. They're trying to interrupt our messaging because like he already knows this is about to be fire. So this is why you should pay extra special attention right now. So like if you're content, if your identity is connected to your goal, that's actually a dangerous spot to be in.
Yeah.
So let's say, for instance, if my identity was wrapped up in I want to be a black belt, that offer looks quite a bit more tempting. Let me drop 10 grand because now like this is who I am. I'm a black belt. And when in reality, like I've had people train here for like a month because I only teach nogi, and they're like, "What belt are you?" I was like, "Well, I'm a black belt." Like I'm a black belt. They're like, "Oh, I didn't know, right?" Because you don't go like that's not my identity of who I'm tied to. And so if that's my identity is my identity is tied to what type of house I've got, what car I drive. What my career is, what my title is, like that's not my identity.
Yeah.
That like my identity is tied into something much more greater. You're connected to my faith and my belief in God. Like that's my identity. And that shit, like whatever, you can dismember my body, ship it over the world. Like that's gonna be hard to take from me. But if your identity is tied to like something tangible like that, it's a really dangerous spot to be because then you have an identity crisis. And now your whole world falls apart, right? Yeah. Your whole world falls apart of like, I didn't, and it's hanging like your identity, your existence is contingent upon that. Would be stressful. That if my identity, I used to feel like that. I used to feel like so much weight was placed on me because your worth at our old academy, your worth was directly as a human. Your worth was directly related to how well you competed. Period. Like that was your worth as a team. How well did you compete? You did great, cool. You have value. You did shitty, whatever. You paid those.
Yeah, if you're good, you got value. If you're good, if you beat people, and you're a good person.
You have value. Like if you win, you have value. If you lose, you have no value. That was the culture.
Yeah, and you know what? I was just telling some of our students last night is that. You've never ever heard me say that, you know what, if you went and competed and came back, you've never heard me like yell at you or anything like that, because when you go out and compete, you basically test some of what you learn, and everything's put right out there in front of you. So it's for you to say, okay, I can improve on a couple things. Then it's your responsibility to come back and say, hey, coach, I competed. I did test a couple things that we worked on. Get back to the drawing board and fix them. So part of my identity is hard work. So I feel that if I don't work hard and work through like whatever challenges I have going on personally, professionally, and physically, if I don't continue to work hard, then I start to lose my identity. Then I go to shit. So it's not about achieving a goal. It's about knowing what it takes to achieve a goal, and that just means hard work. So
yeah, absolutely. So that's pretty much what we've got as far as our questions. I'm gonna check and see what I can't see. I'm about 57 feet from the screen. I gotta see how many comments. We got a few comments. They could just be morning, guys. They get me every time. I'm like, thank you for saying good morning. Good morning, Facebook user, because it doesn't tell me who. They're like good morning. I was like, oh, we got some questions. They're like just morning or a smiley face. That's cool. That's cordial. I like that.
It's usually like the same three people too. Because half the time I'm watching on Facebook, it's like the same three people.
I'm like, thank you. That's all right. I'm cool with it. He'll chop it up. So So that's pretty much what we've got. That's what we've got for today's episode. And you are, we're going to be actually doing an extra bonus podcast this week with some of the kids who competed, right?
Yep.
Or so, well, some who competed, actually some who didn't as well, just some kids from our kids program.
Yeah.
That'll be fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very nice.
That'll be really sweet. So, guys, that's it. If you're thinking about this and you're setting goals and you say, hey, you know what, this makes sense. Like my mental health is a 3 to 6, and I dread waking up every day, and I just literally live for the weekend so that I can get some fulfillment out of my life. It's a bad spot to be. You should probably make a change. And I promise you, jiu-jitsu is going to give you, once you do something as difficult as jiu-jitsu, you're going to be like, dude, it doesn't really matter. Like, how much easier was the change? Was it easier than you thought or worse than you thought? It
was a lot easier than I thought. Especially when I was working. I was getting up at 4 a.m., driving to Ann Arbor, working till 2 p.m., then I would come here and I would coach from 4 to 9 or so. So it was getting to be where I had to make a choice what was more important to me.
Yeah, those are long days, man. That's a long day. So that's it for this week's podcast, guys. I'm Coach David.
Coach Jimmy.
Professor Muhammad.
As always, we'll see you guys on
On
the
the
mats.